Hi people, welcome to my vlog this week, and this week we're moving on to another painting. I have a blank canvas I wish to fill. So I'm going to do a painting from the Waikato of New Zealand, which is a farming district not far from where I live, maybe half an hour's ride on the motorcycle, because I went for a tour through the Waikato looking for a painting. I kind of had an idea of what I was looking for. I wanted something where the Kiwi ranges come in from the right and stretch right down into the distance. So I'll show you the photograph that I'm going to use. It's right here. What do you think of that? Okay, now it's photographed in the middle of the day. It's a nothing photo really. I'm just kind of using it for the lay of the land for this painting. It's going to be slightly different, it's going to have a lot more mood, and it's going to be an afternoon light painting. With this painting I'm going to do something a little bit different with my vlogs. It's going to be a colour mixing tutorial. So I'm going to go through and put a little bit more detail in the colour mixing rather than just time-lapsing it through. I'm going to be talking about what colours I'm using and what mixing I'm doing as well. So you're going to quite enjoy this. It's going to be a little bit longer on each episode, I imagine. There should be about 5 episodes involved as well. So enjoy the Waikato, W-A-I-K-A-T-O painting of New Zealand. Okay, what I've got here is mountain ranges coming in down through here, fading off into the distance. So this painting is going to have a lot of depth through these this mountain range here. This is the Kiwi ranges in New Zealand, and this is the rolling hill country of the Waikato region through here, and the plains, the Waikato Plains area coming through in here, which is a famous dairy farming district in New Zealand. So it's going to be afternoon light, so I'm going to mix up some lemony yellow to come through here and some mauve, and into a deep sort of a blue colour through into here into the sky. So the sky is going to have quite a lot of variation in colour. And then of course this is the foreground, and this is going to be afternoon light, the golden hour of light as we like to call it, including tussock grasses and a lot of contrast through the hill country and through here. So it's going to be an interesting painting. Let's get on with mixing up some of this lemony yellow colour, which will come in just above the mountains here to give us a nice contrasting feel. Now normally I would use some of the leftover colours that are in my box, but I don't really have any lemony yellow colours in there, so I'll put that one aside. So with my lemon yellow colour, I don't want it to be too bright, so I'm going to dampen it down a bit. As you can see, that's a really bright lemon yellow colour. Now if I was to mix this with blue, particularly a blue like ultramarine, it'll turn into a bright green. So I'm just going to add some lean mix to it now because it's in the sky, and it is a background oil paint colour. So as you can see, this is a pre-mix lemon yellow colour. A lot of oil paints come out as a premix, and if you've got a good selection in your box, you still have to do a lot of colour mixing as you work along, but you don't have to do as much as you probably would have had to have done in the Middle Ages. Adding a little bit of titanium white to it now, dampening it right back. Want a little bit of colour in it, so I'm going to leave it a little bit streaky. When I say colour variation. I'm just going to put that over there, because now the colour that I want to use is a mauve colour. I don't want it to be contaminated between the two, so I'm going to put one lot over there. Then what I'm going to do is clean the palette knife. Go put a sticking plaster on my finger because I just cut my finger on the palette knife. I'll be back in just a moment. As you can see, already an injury. I cut myself on the palette knife, and now I've got a sticking plaster wrapped around my finger. But never mind, let's just move along. I think it's turning into one of those days already. happened last time I was working on a painting, to be honest. I cut myself on the palette knife as well. Have you read my health and safety notes on, on my oil painting for beginners tutorial? Anyway, let's move on. I've already got some of this mauve mixed up. Now the colour I would have used for that would have been this Winsor Newton Artist Oil colour, mauve blue shade, which is actually really good for skies. And I would have mixed a little bit of blue and a little bit of white with it, just to create a sort of a deep sort of a tone to it. I've got it inside my box, so I'm just going to go and dig it out. What I've got here, because it's waste not, want not in this game. I don't like to waste paint at all. As you can see, it's quite a muddy colour that. It's got a lot of grey in it. So I've got another one here as well, which I'm going to dig into. What I'm doing is digging underneath the skin, because it's probably a week or so old, this paint, and it's developed a skin on it. Usually I would keep my container in the freezer, but in this case it never made it to the freezer, so I'm just getting what I can out of it really. I'll just see how this is going to turn out. As you can see, it's quite muddy. It's had a little bit of grey mixed with it. Whatever's left over there is no good to me now. It's full of skin and bits and pieces. So yeah, as you can see, I'm not going to worry about that one too much anymore. There's another colour next to it that I could use possibly at some stage, so just move that aside there and just get the actual original colour out that I've got. I've also got Rani Artist mauve. You can also use crimson alizarin as well. Mix a little bit of blue with it. But we'll just use this colour here. This will be a nice deep purpley colour. Dun 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 dun. Bit of deep purple, smoke on the water. There we go. If you don't know your rock music, you'll have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. But anyway, that's more like it. I'll just crack into this my crimson alizarin and show you what that is too. As you can see, that's a bright red colour. It actually goes really well in sunsets. So I'm going to add a little bit of streakiness through that there as well. Just mix it in all with the paint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another variation of tone with it by adding a little bit of white to it over here. There we go. Now, just going to mix a little bit of lean mix with it. Paint's actually quite sticky, so we'll mix that one up there. And this time, this is like talking with your mouth full. Accidents can happen, so you've got to be very careful with your palette knife. This time I'm going to do it without cutting my finger, and just clean my palette knife once again so that I'm not getting too much of the white paint into that one. So there I have basically two shades of mauve. I have one shade of yellow, of which I'm going to mix a little bit of white paint with on one side of it, just to dampen it down as well. I call it dampening it down, or lightening it up would probably be a better term. There we go, probably need a little bit more actually. Ooh, it's a big blob. Now that's a nice light yellow. I'm trying not to get it contaminated with this mauve colour here. When you're dealing with things like this, try and keep them separate as much as you can. I have 4 sets of colour on my palette now. And I think I can move on with putting them on the canvas. A deep blue colour along the top edge of the sky. So I'm going to save my tones of mauve and put them over there. And then I'm going to bring in some blue. The colour that I'm going to use for this is a Lucas blue, sky blue, quite a handy pre-mixed colour. Let's see what this gun comes out like. Going to be automatically mixed with just a tad of mauve on my palette, because my palette is not absolutely clinically clean. So it's going to end up being a mauvey blue colour, as you can see. It's turned it into that tone, which is pretty much what I'm looking for. I might just bring in a little bit more mauve, mix a little bit more sky blue into it, just so that I've got enough paint. Now, I've got a variation of that, which is good. Mix a little bit more lean mix into it so it flows smoother. And using just a little bit of it, I'm going to move that over there. And then I'm going to mix a deeper shade of blue into it. That I'm going to use Arani Artist French Ultramarine Blue, and this will give it a little bit more of a brighter blue. So now I'm starting to get a little bit more colour moving on my palette. I'm going to pick a little bit more of that up over there, mix a little bit of that into it. So as you can see, my palette has a large variation of different shades based on my mixing. Now, colour mixing is pretty much trial and error, so that as you mix your colours together, depending on what you've already got on your palette, and after a while you get a real feeling of where your colour is going, and you can manipulate it a lot better. I'm using 2 different types of brushes here. Well, they're fairly similar in their shape, but I'm not mixing my blue with my mauve. And I'm also using, there's my lemon yellow brush. So I'm not contaminating the 3 different colours with my brushes. Right, now I'm just going to mix a little bit of white just so in one particular area of my painting I want a really light yellow. As you can see, I've picked up on a little bit of the bright yellow next door to it, so I'm going to have to put a bit more paint with it. There we go, a nice light yellow. Mix a little bit of lean mix with it. I want this really thin. I'm going to use yet another brush. Okay, we'll wrap it up there today. There's all the colours remaining on my palette. Mauves, blues and whites, all created by lemon yellow, and also a mauve, ultramarine blue, titanium white, and there it is applied to the canvas into the sky of the Waikato painting. You've got your lemon yellows down there, through the mauves, through into the blues, creating an evening light, contrasting sky. Obviously I'll add some more to it later on when I'm working on it. So join me in part 2 of the Waikato painting next week. Thanks for joining today. I'm Andrew White.